Shirley here with Jupiter point of Taurus, and this episode is going to be specifically, very likely, easier on the ear of night charts. So if you were born at night, it's very likely going to be more compatible to you. I will try to record some episode that's better for day charts. Actually, the first two episodes that I uploaded today, they are very likely not bad for day charts as well. Um, and the reason I put this disclaimer, because this has to do with divorces, okay? But to get the best out of it, I would need to record an episode about the topic, also in a Jupiter hour, or that is applying for day charts. So I have been running into several cases where people had a divorce and they come for support. So I did not offer readings yet. But the topic of Sun Uranus, I don't know why it brings up. Uranus in general has to do with divorces. Uranus at the end of Taurus. So for some of you, either you are liberated from your relational problems, and for many of you, you are liberated through divorce. Okay, but this is a eureka I had about divorce. So first of all, disclaimer: I am single, 41, and never married. My parents were married for 14 years and they divorced. Uh, and um, and this is what I have to say, okay, about the topic. Now, Uranus, the planet that rules astrology, scientific revolutions, explosions, suicide, but also Kundalini energy, which is sex energy, okay, but life energy, sudden babies, and also divorces, okay, unusual deaths, all these things is Uranus, and scientific revolutions, social revolutions, revolutions in general, okay, and rebellion. So Uranus is an outer planet, and the fact that it rules divorces tells me something very immediate about divorce, which I can say from my personal experience as a child that was born to divorced parents. Okay, was pretty much born to parents who were about to get divorced, and that was, and I was the final cut. Okay, so that was the issue, and this is, first of all, if a couple of things that if you're going through divorce or considering divorce, I want to offer my perspective as astrologer, so you can perhaps have another perspective that can help you during this time. First of all, just like in extramarital affairs, and some of those divorces are because of extramarital affairs, I want you to ask yourself, what good things happened to me in recent times? More often than not, you will find that either you begin to express yourself creatively, a side of your personality that never came into expression before is now being expressed. Um, there's a certain, or maybe you had to rebel certain things that with the Sun conjuncting Uranus, maybe you had to rebel yourself. Okay, your own personality had to have a little streak of rebellion. It's very easy with the Sun to say, "Oh, rebel the father." Fuck it. Very often what happens is not rebelling the father. It's like we repress and oppress ourselves for various reasons, and a Sun is our personality. So for some of you, you begin to liberate your personality, and that is no longer go with the current relationship. And sometimes you didn't want to divorce, just like had a personal revolution, and then your husband or your wife says, "I divorce. I cannot anymore with you like that," and and it can be very challenging because this is a time where you most need validation and acceptance, and Uranus kind of like, let's liberate you from that as well. What if everybody leaves you for you to be who you are? It's still more important for you to be who you are. And I hope that not everybody leaves you, okay? But you will also see that you will have new people in your life, and not just all people, even maybe even astrologers. And so this is a good question to ask yourself. What have I been liberated from in the past years, or what, and liberate is not just liberated from, but what have I been liberated to? Okay, what creative things came into fruition because of those very upheavals that I have undergone that maybe has to do with the marital affairs or with the divorces. Um, for those of you who are in the have I met my twin flame situation, same question. With Uranus, more important than you being together is your individual selves to grow and evolve and express yourself authentically and live life, okay, and be free people. Okay, and also a relationship can only work between free people. Why in North Korea is no love? Okay, in North Korea is no love. Because maybe not, okay, maybe Kim Jong-un has an affair with Putin. We all saw it, we all like it. It's very fun, it's very entertaining. But other than that, like in North Korea, for the people themselves, there's no love. There's no, the word love doesn't even exist in the language. There's love for the leader, but that's it. And this is why, because only free people can love. And so Uranus, even in the most Western of woke societies, Uranus is kind of a reality check. It's like, no, darling, you maybe thought that you are free, but look at how much you compromised to be in this relationship. And this is what the Sun conjoining Uranus now brings as an uptick of those things. So some of you may have sudden divorces. Suddenly you discovered somebody was cheating. Suddenly you were cheating. You may be the type of person that never even thought it and was not even on your mind. And Uranus is the it just happens. Uranus is the it just happens. I know a lot of people don't like to hear that, don't this. First of all, if you don't like to hear that, are you over 45 or under 45? If you're under 45, and I know I'm 41, but I'm a relational astrologer and I've seen stuff, okay? If you're under 45, don't talk to me. Talk to me when you're 45. Don't talk to me before your Ferrari transit. Don't talk to me before your Uranus opposition about the it just happened, okay? It's just if you're over 45, okay, then perhaps something that works one way for you doesn't, you don't have the same transits as other people, and you don't go through them with the same way as other people. So that is important to remember. The Uranus is the it just happened. You weren't even thinking, and sometimes people cheat. They don't even understand what they find in that other person. But usually, what they find is suddenly, I don't know, you cheat with someone, and you know they could be accountant and you could be lawyer, okay? And you think, what is there? Well, but then you begin to write the poetry, you begin to play guitar, you begin to paint, you begin to do a project in your garden, okay? And that can be something that's like you don't even know where it's coming from. And Dave, what happened to them? I don't know. They adopted a pet, and then I don't know, began to have podcast or decided to travel. Something in you needed to be liberated, and this is Uranus is one of the things that are most susceptible of bringing about that liberation, whether you like it or not. Okay. um, so this is something that I want you to keep in mind. I want you to remember. Another thing, a lot of you have this problem that you say, I lost all the support that I have. Okay, now sometimes it's an issue of taking your power back. Perhaps in some relationships the spouse offers a web of social comfort, whether it's their friends, their family, that you were welcomed into the family. And if it was not so the case in your family, then that can be losing a cushion that was there. But beyond that, divorce, because divorce is about that liberation, and because Uranus is a generational planet, it's not a personal planet. So divorce in itself is not a private problem, it's a social problem. And this is where, for many of you, this will help. If you need to prevent divorce, you will need to listen to this the most. Because this is what you can tend to if that is what your objective is. The reason you lose all your support system is because they are shocked by your liberation. Okay, if you live, for example, in society where the female orgasm or an orgasm that is actually pleasing, that is not trauma induced or misplaced trauma. It's basically a result of traumatic response to rape. Okay, if you lived in society where people don't orgasm, they come on dopamine, they get addicted to porn, they rape children, but they don't orgasm, and nobody talks about this. Okay, if you come from such society and you had affair with somebody who first orgasmed, man or woman, okay, you first orgasmed, not orgasmed, dopamine orgasmed, intimate, like you felt good before the, during, and after orgasm, and it's like, oh my God, I want to be with that person. I never had that, and that can stem. Your entire society never had that. Okay, your entire society never orgasmed. Everybody prides themselves, whether they are ultra religious and they live in polygamy and they have to make many babies, so they have to come some way, okay, or they're a player or the lover boy, and everybody prides themselves, but nobody orgasmed. They were all on grants from yeasty sex to downright rape. Okay, so that tells you the level of shock that your decision created in society. People have to, I remember a conversation with someone who was a relationship coach that did apprenticeship on me. And I was just learning about all these things, tantra, orgasm, self-pleasure, and stuff like that. It was after the Me Too. I was like, let's focus on what I do want. And then but I asked a very simple question because she taught me about. She said, "Oh, a woman can never completely let go with a man. She always has to be mysterious. Always has to be this." And I asked her, "Well, listen, what about cervical orgasm?" She snapped at me and she told me. She told me she didn't understand me. The pressure for women to have a cervical orgasm was so big, and I was coming from a completely different place. Now, of course, I come from a woman who self-pleasure and had cervical orgasm, okay? So that was complete shock. And that negated someone who worked so hard to keep in relationship, and when it comes to for the completely being able to let go. And that can affect you for days. You affect your energy for days. And she said to me, I see how I'm snapping at you. It's bringing something in me. So you want to understand that Uranus is sexual energy, is life energy. And so because of that, divorces means that there was an uptick in your life energy. You could be miserable in a relationship and do nothing. And more than that, a lot of you know that y'all got to stay married for the eighth house. Y'all got to stay married for your trust funds. Y'all got to stay married for the, whatever. And a lot of things are endowed by that. And so somebody divorcing is kind of like, whoa. wait, what? Now, but what you also know that Uranus is where you do something about that. Because you could be miserable in a relationship. You could take this pill and that pill and that pill and that pill, and then I don't know. From maybe even you become a dysfunctional down there. And it's not just people with penis. Or you have the yeast, and you say, I treat this. I remove milk. I remove this. I remove this food and that food, and then I put some nice essential oils. I put something that awakens for the energy. For the it needs to be because yeast is stagnation. So it needs to have a movement, and then I need to learn how to touch myself, how this, how that, how that. Lo and behold, in that life energy comes out, and then poof, it shocks everybody, and then you realize that your yeast was not a personal problem; it was a societal problem. That your yes, no, and maybe was not respected to so much so that even when you would please yourself, okay. And I spoke to women. That is so fucking true. That even if you, I don't know how much. Even after the Me Too, I can say, because I was not a person considered self non-sexual, but I said many things that I even need to change with myself to rethink. So Uranus is sexual energy. And it spikes up, it stirs you into action. Action about your whole life, not sexual action per se. You could be depressed, 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 depressed. You treat depression, boom, divorce. And then what the other people can be like, oh, we were with you through the depression. We were with you. We were carrying you the whole time. But what happens when you finally shine, when you finally rise? Oh, they cannot see you shine. They will help you when you're down, but when you shine, it stirs up something. It's like a projector. Especially with the sun, Uranus. It's like, oh my God, I glow. You glow. The picture of you, you glow. Now, what happens if you have an orgasm? Okay, you have after sex glow. You walk around with after sex glow. Nobody had an orgasm in your area for a while now. Now, why? Because the women, they're supposed to obey the man. And the man, he's supposed to powerfully subdue the, it's no good sex. You come from what? From dopamine. Then you get addicted to violence. Both men and women. Even if you have men with men, women with women, doesn't matter. You like to spank, you like to be spanked, you like to be spanked. It's not a problem. But if people come from dopamine alone, this is the problem. And there's no two way about this. Uranus is because somebody had a life awakening, life force awakening, sexual liberation. Okay, and this is where you can no longer be with what does not support that. So sometimes it means space, but when you know that this is it, and you don't say, the more you try to tame and repress Uranus, this is what brings divorces. One of the two is trying to tame, to look at, to say, yes, oh my God, you changed. Okay, do you allow that change? Do you give space? Do you like the change? You see, maybe you see a partner, I don't know, all the time suit and tie, suit and tie, suit and tie. Then one day they come without suit, without tie. Immediately think, oh, they're cheating. Now this is already a problem, because so maybe they said, oh fuck it, why I wear all this suit and tie all the time? It can be as simple as that. It's just awakening. Now, but if your reaction is, oh my God, you look so sexy like that, it's very different. You show them you accept. Now, it's not about showing. It is about what is your authentic reaction. And if you are the surrounding to that, if you're, you need to check what is your authentic reaction to your partner being sexy, your partner being glowing. And I tell you, sometimes in non-monogamous relationships, one person, person can even have affair. Okay, but if the reaction of spouse is immediately, the gut reaction is not, oh my God, somebody's cheating, like, oh my God, my partner became sexy again, and they begin to invest in themselves, and so on and so forth, then that can actually correct the marriage. Okay, this is this is Uranus. It's about liberation. It doesn't ask you for about your norms, what is your culture, what is your this. It doesn't have a grocery store when you come to meet a partner. And that's the great thing, because the grocery store, you throw it out the window when Uranus arrives. And it's more important than any ring. Uranus also brings very unique unions. Okay, it is the one that it can also be. I haven't checked the synastry of Hitler and Eva Braun, but it can be like that. Okay, it can bring people together that like, it looks like it's completely unrelated and even conflictual, but that is just what Uranus does. It keeps you in check by liberating you from constraints, and that is yeah, exactly the point about that is that, first of all, to be yourself and live your life and express yourself, and it works with the sexual energy. But you see, this is life energy. Okay, I say what you call, oh, it's life force, life energy is sex, but also what we say is sex is also entire life, because it's not just in sex, it's not just in bed, it's also how excited you are about the topic. You see, I'm astrologer. See how I talk about astrology, right? We had a conference a couple of years ago. One question was, why all astrologers are so sexy? And answer is very simple. Nobody tells you when my son will be astrologer, my daughter will be astrologer. It's usually something that you do that defies society, that defies your parents' expectations. And then you have to connect it to your inner self. It's an act of courage of being yourself. Being an astrologer in most times and eras is not something traditional. It's something that's an act of courage to be yourself, and that's fucking sexy. Okay? That is okay, that is Um, and that's the thing to think about. So your entire society is in a crisis because they are awakening to the fact that it's not that they're awakening to the fact that they haven't orgasmed in a while and maybe never, but also they're awakening to the fact that they also haven't expressed themselves. They weren't shining. And with the sun, it's completely devastating because for many people, it's been, I have not even been me. Okay? And that can be an awakening. It can be a rude awakening, or it could be a powerful awakening. And for many of you, it means that a lot of people around you, by your move, by what's happening in your marriage, or now the lack of, okay, everybody, and I've even seen that with people. Okay, I'm not going to say that, but how should I generalize that? Let's say you have a Uranus in first house or Uranus in seventh house, so you might be single for a while. But it's not the type of singles like Saturn. Okay, it's like, why don't I find partner? Or I'm better off alone, or this or that. It's like, no, I'm happy. All of these people married, they're miserable. Or some of them happy, but I'm happy single. They're just happy single. Okay, or it's just something about that. Okay, I know I have Uranus in 10th house, but it's in Jupiter sign. And yeah, Uranus, Jupiter is spouse for woman, and I've been single. Okay, I've been unmarried. And so sometimes, yeah, I would want it to be different. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, there's so many things that I'm more free because I'm not married. And even when they were trying to really push me around that, I said, I'm married to astrology. And I got a chart with Uranus on my descendant, which is which is very simply put, I'm married to astrology. So this is very interesting, but this is also how Uranus is a societal thing, but more for you, it means that you are the pinnacle of a social revolution when you divorce, regardless of how prevalent it is to divorce. In some societies, it's not even, when my parents divorced, nobody heard about divorces. Nobody heard about divorces when my parents divorced. Okay, I was born 84, they divorced maybe 86. Nobody heard about divorces. It was something that people didn't think about even. So it spiked up all of their envy, the envy. Oh my God, the envy that two people can just say, okay, well, that was nice, several, even decade and a half, and now gone to separate lives. The envy these people had. Not only the envy they had when they were married, okay? Let's just put all cards on the table, it looked like movie stars. But and they were best friends. But the thing is that the envy that there was, like, nobody was happy when they were together, but nobody was happy when they divorced. So a lot of you are going through the exact same phase. And for many of you, it may be because we try to think when you fell in love, okay? How was that defiant of society? For many of you, it was. But when you were married, it was defiant of society. Now that revolution served its goal. Now there's another revolution. And not all revolutions you will make with the same partner. And this is my third question to you. What is the revolution in your life right now? What in the world needs to change so you will be happy, single or married, or in relationship or whatnot? What in the world needs to change? And this is something that can range from many, many topics. Many topics. Even to do with fertility. They're killing women, bringing women to suicide. The social agenda is to do that. Also to do that to men, yes. So there are many things, and again, for you, I don't know what it is for you. But Uranus can expose that. For me, having Uranus on my descendant, somebody with Uranus on my descendant, never met this person in my life. They revolutionized my life in ways that I'm so, so, so grateful. So just looking at the chart, I was told, do this chart. I did this chart, and it was like my life completely revolutionized. And this is and there was very Uranus it tends to be very shocking. So this is why divorce is such a thing. You know, a lot of men, yes, they unalive themselves, and this is we have to tend to those topics. Women fearing of being murdered, but also sometimes they're driven to unalive themselves. It's just that women are less successful in killing themselves. Just, I think they rely on somebody to save them, or I don't know. They just like have a little bit more faith in the world or something. But also they can be less impulsive physically, and that means that their attempts will not be as violent, and then that would not be as lethal. Um, and so, yes, so this is not something I want to brush under the rug when it comes to Uranus or when it comes to divorces. Um, but this is again the what bringing us back to what are the social changes that need for people to be able to be together happy, to be single happy, to end a relationship happy, and if they need to let go of relationship, to be able to do so in a way that is supportive of them. And yet we have to remember that the nature of Uranus itself is rebellious. And because what you engage in when you divorce is something that is a necessary rebellion, okay, whether it ends up in divorce or not, some divorces don't end up in divorce. Some divorces end up in revolution of the relationship, changing the style of commitment, changing something about the life, taking space from one another, and then suddenly taking space from one another is very important because that can alleviate a lot of the tension. Uranus requires space. Having intellectual conversation is another, bringing air. That's a teaching of Vlada Dunchev about the elements in relationship. Uranus is element of air. So having intellectual conversations that you enjoy, or something like, keep something that you enjoy in the air, and don't keep in mind to prevent marriage. Oh, oh, I didn't think about that. Being single, and don't keep in mind not to prevent a marriage, but not to prevent divorce, and just allow it to be, because this is what your relationship needs right now. It's like take the space for one another, and that can be very alleviating. And for some of you, it means even seeing other people, especially if you have like Pluto with Uranus or something like that. It means that Pluto is obsession. Okay, so the way to diversify it is kind of like, okay, perhaps let's date other people for a while. Perhaps let's meet other people for a while. Or getting into the core of the issue, which is very Plutonian, okay? But sometimes the person would need to do it with themselves, and that is something that should be supported. Um, More Uranus tips. Oh, many of you go through the I'm divorcing a narcissist, I'm this, I'm that. I have to admit, the posts that I have seen are not by people usually that would talk about like a violent relationship or narcissist relationship. Yes, so it is refreshing for me after the entire Pluto in Capricorn, which was the entire Pluto in Capricorn was gaslighting, red flags, all these things. So for me, it's different, and of course, we are differently biased. But for those of you that are dealing with these things, know that those things, what you call narcissism and that and that and that, is social engineering, and this person is very likely part of some sort of secret society that the judges are also part of. So there are tips of lawyers on what to do if you need to divorce in that case. Very respectfully, it's about emphasizing your need to separate without, it's kind of like, I just want to put end and to separate without getting into conflict, without trying to show that they were narcissists, without trying to do anything of that sort, and maintain okay, connection with your children. So the less you engage in trying to analyze their personality, the less they will try, I think, to do that to you. But you also have to see this. There are lawyers who offer tips to do that. And mind you, the people who say how to get revenge at the narcissist, that, that's like No. Like what? No. Okay. That's like that is one thing I have to kind of keep in mind. But even if with those relationships, Uranus is going to expose the fact that maybe whenever somebody wants to do something with their life, they need to be members of brotherhood or sisterhood, and that entails certain things that are very challenging for having happy, thriving marital relations. Or relations in general, to be very honest. And so this is something you want to keep in mind. And yet, Uranus is about liberation from those very societies, to be very honest. Okay, so sometimes that's why you meet, and that is, and that can be the issue. Okay, that can be the thing that sparks the thingy. Okay, and again, this is where you want to keep the focus. This is what you want to keep the focus on, is Uranus came to make a social revolution so that we are happier, more sovereign, thriving. And this is the last decan of Taurus. So this is the last time in the next 80 years Uranus will be in Taurus, which is Venus ruled. If I think about Uranus in Libra, okay, last time Uranus been in Gemini, Donald Trump has Uranus in Gemini. He's known for many things, but also the prenuptials. Okay, he's known from the prenuptials. And the woman he married, the last woman he married, Melania Trump, she has Uranus in Libra, which is another Venus sign. By the way, she's going to have Uranus going over her Venus. So I will be watching this transit because it's going to be very interesting. Is when your values change, but also your looks change, and it's just a very exciting time. Yeah, she's probably going to be very sexy for the next, even more sexy in the next coming months, and that's nice for the world to see what will she bring to the table. And then Uranus in the last degree of Taurus as a Venus sign is bringing to us the final rebellion, the final revolution, the final liberation, okay, from outdated societal norms. And that can bring about both unexpected divorces, because Uranus is unexpected, okay, and also unexpected marriages, yes, because Saturn is still sextile and Saturn rules marriages. So unexpected marriage, and sometimes unexpected divorce, unexpected marriage, unusual marriage setting. Okay, and we also see how certain things, we had a reality checks, how certain things are outdated. People that had a prenuptial, when it came to divorce, that prenuptial was not really holding water, or the prenuptial was signed in a way that's not willing consent. Okay, Taurus, willing consent plays a huge role in Taurus, and it's not Airy Libra. You don't balance it with the scale. You feel it with the body. Okay, how does it smell? Is the water watering? By the way, did you know? One last trigger. Did you know that in those societies where they program people to orgasm on dopamine, for those women that they do this too, because what they have for the water is not the actual amarita, okay, that is formed in the kidneys as well, but this is because this is trauma induced. So what happens is the lack of control over, okay, for what comes out, and this is P. And this is why every time something is in Libra, we have the same argument: is it P or is it not? Well, it's not. There may be remnants of P, but it's not, and that depends if you orgasm or it was misplaced arousal. Okay, so that is. Until Uranus will be in Libra, this is what the final conclusion of that. And this can also be exposure, especially for those communities when people will literally tell women, men, okay, tell women, science knows your body more than you. And I'm like, darling, taste. You'll never smell like it. That's Taurus. It doesn't argue with you with researches and data and this and that. Like, darling, reach down below, taste it, smell it. Okay? Would you want to, okay, would you want that in your mouth? that's that's Taurus. It is as blunt as that. And when it's not the case, so sometimes it means there is a societal issue. You want to even think about what's in our food and how that affects our fluids. But also what people, but it's true, you know? I was not thinking about pineapples and lychees for no reason. But then, you think about, yeah, Sirius rising is coming up. Um, but that is, yes, another thing. Um, we even had those social engineers that like program people to pay for the water and so on. And am I joking about just, but do you bring the water? And so, and how that affects, you know how silly does it sound for a man, let's say landlord said, but you have to pay me for the water. And I'm like, we have to pay you for the water. Okay, because we immediately see that it kind of like Taurus is elemental. There is water, air, fire, metal, if you would go for the fifth element, um, now, and ground and soil. So we definitely, with Uranus, learned the science of the elements. And bringing in the water. Water is also about caring. If you make water a commodity, you understand. Okay, but then you think about, oh, but we also made land a commodity. I was like, yes, Uranus is one thing. Pluto is in Aquarius for a reason. Last time Pluto was in Aquarius, it was the people that had land that says no more taxation. United States was formed like this because this like, oh, too much debt. And then what happened? Uranus went into Gemini. It's like, well, that means no slavery either. It's kind of like, well, the sign that won the war, Aldebaran, Uranus Aldebaran, would be the sign that abolishes slavery. And it's kind of like, well, that's just the way it is. And it's like, well, if it's not successful, then, well, in North Korea there is no love, there is no sex, there's rape, but there's no sex. There's and the leader, he would be vying for the smokes, the drinks, the everything, you know, the photo shoots with Putin. Okay, so that is something again to keep in mind. And yeah, I think it's still be shootable. If not, it's going to YouTube.